Today, I got the biggest key for the Hawkeyes pulling off the upset in Jack Trice Stadium. What's it going to take for the Hawkeyes to get the win?
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast. A big thank you to your everydayers out there with us each and every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Well, I've been covering this game for over 20 years on the radio here in the state of Iowa, including currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network, where you can hear me each weekday from noon to 2, stations in Des Moines, Sioux City, the Quad Cities, Cedar Rapids, and of course, Iowa City. You can hear me each weekday talking the world of sports and a lot of Hawkeyes for you. Today, we are going to talk about a little bit what it's going to take for Iowa to get this victory. We will hear from the voice of the Iowa Hawkeyes as Gary Dolphin is set to join us as well. We'll talk with Dolph a little bit about what this is going to take. Plus, we got some props for you, those player props that are available from FanDuel and how they indicate the game is going to go coming up on Saturday against Iowa State. But we begin today with what I believe is the biggest key for Iowa to win this football game on Saturday. Iowa's won 6 straight in Jack Trice Stadium. Iowa has been able to find a multitude of different ways to get this one, from 2 punt returners running into each other to a Jack Campbell scoop and score. There's been a lot of ways that Iowa's found a way to win in this one. Now, of course, there's the easy things, right? They're the things that we hear Kirk Ferentz talk about all the time. It's going to take this team to be able to go out there, play clean football, not turn the football over, do a little bit in the passing game, and of course, get that ground game going. They have to play smart defensively and can't allow big plays, though you look back a couple of different times here in recent history during this 6-game winning streak at Jack Trice Stadium, and you're left coming back and saying, I was actually giving up a couple of big plays in some of those games and yet been able to find ways to win. So as we're going through, mention Mark Gronowski, he has to be better. He just has to be better, and he's going to have to make some plays down the field. You believe if I was going to have a shot of really pulling out this game and finding a way to win, he's going to have to make a couple of plays. Now, I'm not asking Mark Gronowski to go out there and throw for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's not what we're looking at here, but make a couple of those plays, stretch out that defense a little bit more, and also he's going to have to do it with his legs. As Iowa sits back in that coverage with the 3-3-5 stack look that they're going to give the Hawkeyes a ton, it's going to be imperative that when things are not there, when things are not open, he use one of his greatest assets, and that is his legs, in order to make it happen. But one thing that I've also come back a ton, I don't believe that Iowa State is going to be able to throw the ball, to run the ball, very well in this game. I think the Iowa defense has been stout, and overall, Iowa State still, I don't believe in their offensive line. Burr, one of their potential starting offensive lineman coming into the year, he's been out with an illness. I don't believe he's going to be out there on Saturday. So you have those components that are going on in an offensive line that's been good in pass protection, but not so good in the run. Carson Hansen hasn't looked great. I think you'll see a bit more Abu Sama in this game, and he is a speed back that if he gets an open space, look out, he can be a potential big play guy. But one thing that I go back to, and one thing that I continue to see when I'm trying to find that avenue for Iowa, is this. It is getting pressure on the quarterback. Again, it goes without saying. Yes, you want to pressure the quarterback. And Rocco Becht, a historic 19 of 20 performance last week for Iowa State in their win against South Dakota. He looked really good in stretches against Kansas State in the week 0 win over in Ireland. So we've seen Rocco Becht play at a high level. 2 years ago, he gave one back to Iowa, and the pick 6 by Sebastian Castro proved to be a big difference in that football game. Last year, Rocco Becht was terrible in the first half of the game in Kinnick Stadium, but in the second half, he got going. Jalen Knoll got behind the defense, and he started to make some plays as the game went on. The guy that you've seen the last 2 seasons, if you're somebody that only watches the Hawkeyes, and I know there's plenty of you guys out there that do just that. For those that just see that and think this is the same old Rocco Becht, that's not the case. He has continued to build as a player into the guy that we see here today. So as we go through and as we look at it, this is what I come up with. Rocco Becht, under pressure, some numbers for you. Now, he's been under pressure this year, just 24.1% of his dropbacks so far this season. With the clean pocket, he's been tremendous. 31 of 42 passing, 436 yards, 10.4 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Against the blitz, and he has been blitzed 34% of his dropbacks this season, he's still been really good. When blitz, Rocco Becht is 11 of 16 passing. That's 69% on the season, 150 yards, 9.5 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns against no interceptions. But here's the other part. That's when he's blitzed. When he's not blitzed, he's also really good. Here is the one thing that you see. Under pressure, where most quarterbacks struggle, it hasn't been a ton. It's a small sample size, but Rocco Becht is 2 of 6 passing this year, 33 yards and 25 yards. And because he has shown that he is incredibly good against the blitz, reading, reacting, getting the ball out quickly, because he's been so good at that and has really improved as his career's gone on there, very simply, Iowa has to get pressure with their front four. And outside of the play that Aaron Graves made after Kenneth Merriweather came in and caused the pressure, him to step up in the pocket, and Graves stripped the football, maybe should have been a fumble, and got the sack in the game, we didn't see a ton of pressure. It was Merriweather that was able to do it, and that was basically it from Iowa. If Iowa's going to win this game, I believe they're going to have to do it with pressure from the front four. And that, of course, means Aaron Graves, but that's also going to mean that the depth of this defensive line is going to have to come in. Yes, Ethan Hurkett, Max Llewellyn, those guys definitely need to be out there in the backfield a whole lot during this football game. You need it up the middle from Aaron Graves. And then you dig a little bit deeper. Brian Allen, we know his ability to get to the quarterback. We just talked about Kenneth Merriweather. We didn't see Jose Epinesa. Could this be the game that they decide to unleash that? I believe the biggest component of this game, if I was going to pull it off, pressure from the front four and getting in the face of Rocco Becht. There is one other component there I think is going to be important, and that is the special teams. The Iowa State special teams have improved. I mentioned the punt return a couple of years back, and yes, the hilarity that ensued on that one. They made a couple of big plays in the punt return game last week. Kid that was teammates with Brevin Dow over at ADM Adel. He was making plays in Aiden, Florida, a couple of big punt returns, including what was nearly a 99-yarder, just had a toe out of bounds as he was going up the sideline, or it would have been a record that cannot be broken on a punt return. So you have that component of it. What they're doing in the kicking game, well, I think we all know Kyle Conradi. This is another part of this game. If it comes down to it, Iowa doing something special in special teams, be it making a big kick, going with the trick play. Those are things that I believe are going to have to happen if Iowa's going to get this done and pull off the upset. Let's go to the voice of the Iowa Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin. He's going to join us when we continue. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. Mazda craft cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive. And that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. As an athlete focuses on every detail, Mazda does the same, from metallic accents to hand-stitch Napa leather. You can feel it the moment you get behind the wheel, the smooth handling, controls, and standard all-wheel drive, and every crossover SUV. It's the small details that make the big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move or be moved. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Game Cap. Quick question for you, all college football fans out there right now. If you could go back in time, sit in the front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, like Cyhawk this week, what hat would you be wearing? Yeah, I said hat. For me, it would be the game. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see me wearing it right now. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. Those are the ones that I wore when I was in college. And guess what? They still go for the same price that they did back then. When you use the code LOCKEDON, you'll get a vintage hat for $16.99. Head to thegamecaps.com. That's thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use the code LOCKEDON for an exclusive discount because legends wear the game.
Let's get to Gary Dolphin. He'll be down the hall from us here on 1040 WHO with a Hawkeye call, and he joins us. Gary, Trent, and Ken, thanks for coming on this Wednesday. How are things with you, Dolph?
Hey, hi, Kenny. Yeah, Trent, good to be on with you guys. Haven't talked in a while. Yeah, it's a wild week as always, but I love it, especially if you're from this state and you've experienced a game, whether in person or listening and hugging your radio or watching it.
Well done.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, got me different this week. It should be a great game.
No, absolutely is. And I know it's cliche, but you truly can throw the records out, especially since 97. Was it 98 when everything changed with the McCarney finally getting that done? And it's been phenomenal ever since then. So let's go back to week one. Obviously, no one expected to see Mark Gronowski. There's a lot of speculation as to what was behind it, nerves, etc. Has to be better this week. When you watched him, from your perch high above at Kinnick Stadium, what did you see out of the new signal caller for the Hawks, Gary?
Well, it's his first game, at this level, and he's played Division I teams before, so it's not like he hasn't seen defenses, especially the likes of Albany. I think. My view is he pressed too much. We know what he can do. He's got 10,000 yards passing. He knows where the end zone is, 34 career touchdowns. And he did throw a touchdown pass, and he scored a touchdown pass. Certainly the numbers aren't where Tim Lester wants them to be. And I just think he pressed too much. A couple he threw right into the dirt, and that's very unlike him. But first game jitters, I'm not sure. Probably some of that. I can assure you his shoulder is fine. It has been since June. He's been throwing. I've been watching him in practice. He's throwing very well. Now, granted, he's going up against the Iowa defense in practice every day, but that wasn't the Iowa defense out there last week. So Mark knows he's got to get better, and he will. He's a terrific young guy, and he's a very heady quarterback, and I think that's where this game lies Saturday is the improvement of Gronowski, at least throwing the football. What Rocco Becht has been doing the first 2 weeks of the season. So, as usual, the quarterback position will ultimately decide this along with a couple of other factors.
A year ago, Iowa was able to run the football very well, coming out party for Caleb Johnson after the first half he had against Illinois State, and then what he did against the Cyclones. There will be no Kamari Moulton. So how do you anticipate the running backs are going to be divvied up here? 2 years ago, Jazion Patterson had a tremendous game over in Ames. What do you expect to see at running back coming up this weekend?
Well, hopefully more of the same if you're a Hawkeye fan. I mean, and then thank goodness Xavier Williams. Now he's been showing that kind of savvy. For a freshman, he's been showing that kind of savvy all fall camp. And I think we haven't even mentioned the offensive line yet, and I think that's key. Yep. This is one of the top-rated offensive lines returning. You've got Logan Jones and Jennings Dunker, who were rated by Pro Football Focus the highest at their positions for seniors coming back anyway. And they're both going to be playing on Sunday next year. And then you've got two salty guards and Pieper and Bo Stevens and then obviously left tackle. That's a little bit of a mystery yet, but this kid Lauk from Indianapolis is the real deal. And Jack Dotzler has gotten good experience too. It's a little disappointing to me last week that the tight ends weren't more involved, particularly Estrenga. They've got good tight ends with Ortworth and Estrenga, maybe not the TJ Hawkinson or Sam Laporta level, but they're very, very good. So I look for those guys to be more active. I heard something, I chuckled this week. Well, Iowa wasn't showing much last week for Iowa State. Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully they show it all this week then. But I think you'll see a much more active offense. The defense just keeps doing what they're doing. But to the running game, whether it's Xavier, he's 225 pounds. He reminds me a lot of Caleb Johnson. And who knew who Caleb Johnson was a year ago at this time? And so this might be the second X-Man that has a breakout year for the Hawkeyes. And, behind him, Jazz Patterson is longer and lankier and can hit the hole. He's got great speed. Ty Washington is a terrific speedster. They used him a lot, as you guys know, in the slot last year and ran jet sweeps with them and look for maybe some of that. But I think they've got not a three-headed monster, but certainly a three-headed group of guys that now that Xavier's had a game under his belt, I look for the running game to be solid. It has to be if they're going to win the game on the road.
When it comes to Iowa, tight end, etc. They've had such an embarrassment of riches in some of those positions. There's one that I think kind of gets overlooked a little bit, and that's the return game. And they've been blessed with some great ones, and I think they've got another one. This Weegan, every time I watch him play, Gary, it seems like they've got him bottled up, and he finds a way to get out of it and find a hold and just keep running. I think Weegan's going to go down as, a part of that group that Iowa's been so fortunate to flip the field when it comes to kick and punt returns. Weegan's a good one.
That's a great point, Kenny. I go back to what Albany coach Ambrose said last week, and he was offensive coordinator at Delaware when they had great offenses with the Blue Hens, so he knows something about kids that can score and can take it to the other end. And that punt that Weegan fielded last week, running about 20 yards with a full-out sprint to catch the ball, the wind was playing tricks with it. And caught it at his kneecaps, and then still shucked 2 or 3 tacklers and got 18 yards on the punt return. That's what he does. Now, if he gets in the open, he's gone because he's got great speed. And I'm sure Coach Campbell and his staff, have, especially the special teams folks, have looked at Weegan long and hard. I mean, they've seen him for a couple of years now, but he is so excited to be playing as a receiver, a slot receiver, as well as a return kick. He can't get on the field enough. That's what he'll tell you. Mm-hmm. And so he's a kind of a mini version of Tim Dwight. I'm not saying he's Tim Dwight, but man, he can make it happen. And he wants to touch the football, kind of like Cooper DeJean did when he was here. He hated to call for a fair catch, but Weegan's the same way. And look for him to make a play. You guys have watched this series almost as long as I have. This typically comes down to a turnover or a special teams play, mm-hmm. or a great field goal kick, like last year for the kid from Iowa State. So don't be surprised if that happens again. I think 10 of the last 13 games have been 10 points or less, and I think the last 7 or 8 have ended in a one-score game, or 7 of the last 8. So it is what it is. It's Iowa State. It's in-state. If you like the Clones, if you like the Hawks, if you don't even follow football, the state grinds to a stop to either listen or watch this game. That's what it is.
Great game, and really going to be a fun one. Iowa State favored by 3.5 in the market right now. Hey, Dolph, let's jump over to the defense. A lot of new faces out there, a lot of guys that getting their first extensive reps, including Jaden Harrell in the middle, Zach Lutmer. What do you see of some of those new faces defensively on Saturday?
Well, Lutmer, I really love. He kind of emerged in the second half of the season last year on special teams, I might add, and then got a shot on some third downs and some run contain. He's a big, burly kid from Northwest Iowa, and he'll hit you. He'll drive you into next week, and he'll be a great complement to when they go to the cache, and they can drop him down there. But he and Wampa should be a pair of outstanding safeties as the season wears on. Corner, I thought TJ Hall and Deshaun Lee played much better in the second half than the first half. They need to step their game up a level or two this year. Up front, no worries except for depth at the one tackle. They're a little thin there, simply because they've lost so many good players. Y.A. Black, most notably of late. But Aaron Graves is an All-American in waiting. You got 2 of the better defensive ends in Llewellyn and Herkett. So what kind of pressure do they want to put on Rocco Becht? You him in the box. Almost every year we say that about the Iowa State quarterback. Purdy to Becht, got to keep them inside the hash marks. If they get outside, they're very, very lethal. The linebackers, you got both Jaden Harrell and Jaden Montgomery, who played a lot last week. I don't know if that position has been settled yet, but Carson Shire and Jackson Rexroth are definitely slotted in at those 2 other outside linebacker spots. And then those 3 redshirt freshmen are biting through iron, just waiting to get in there. You saw a little bit of Preston Reese last week, what he's going to be, what he is. But I can tell you, in watching Cam Buffington from Winfield and Derek Montross from Williamsburg, Seth Wallace said, they're going to get on the field eventually. As to when, we just got to keep them patient And that's hard to do when you know those three kids, because they're the future of the position for sure.
No doubt about it. Last thing for me, I'll let Trent finish up with you, Gary. Appreciate you coming on. Obviously, a milestone potentially if I was to win. I got to think you've called all of them, unless you had a family engagement, all of Kirk's wins, as he's about to become college football's all-time winningest coach. Guessing when he got here, nobody saw this one coming, but kind of a feather in your cap that you've been on the microphone for all of them.
Yeah, 205 of them, Ken, and of course 120 losses or whatever it is. But it's he is such a low key, the furthest you could be from patting himself on the back. He doesn't want to hear about 206 this week or next week or the week after, whenever it happens. He lives for the moment. He loves to coach. He said, I don't play golf. I don't play tennis. I'm going to coach and enjoy my 14 grandkids. And he stayed that way consistently. And, he'll if it happens Saturday, he'll be very emotional in the locker room. We've all watched Coach shed a lot of tears down through the years. But, last Friday night, him seeing the Hall of Fame get together in Iowa City, Bob Bowlesby went into the hall, the letter winners Hall of Fame. And I asked him about the coaching hire 26 years ago, and he said, well, Kirk wasn't the popular hire, obviously, but he said he turned out pretty good. And what Bob Bowlesby said he saw in him was a guy that is so organized and is such a hardline coach and loves being around kids, loves being around practice, almost enjoys spring ball more than any other time of the year because he doesn't have to worry about an opponent. I mean, that's who he is, from blue-collar Pittsburgh. And to think he's lasted 25, 26 years in this day and age of college football is truly remarkable. And I don't see him giving it up anytime soon.
So, Dolph, we'll let you go on this. What's it going to take for the Hawkeyes to pull the upset? A spot they haven't been very often in this series, an underdog. What's it going to take on Saturday to get the W?
Mark Gronowski's got to be Mark Gronowski. The running game, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Cyclones stack 7, 8, 9 guys in the box until Gronowski proves himself. And I think he'll step up and play much better. But to me, it still comes back to special teams. The Hawkeyes got an All-American kicker, and they've got a freshman All-American punter, now a sophomore. And field position is so important for the Iowa defense. And if you can make them drive the field 12, 13, 14 plays, odds are good. Even Rocco Becht can make a mistake, and that's what Iowa's hoping on.
Great stuff, Dolph. Appreciate you doing this for us, Gary. Really do. Enjoy the game Saturday. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Good to be with you. Take care.
Good to talk to you. Gary Dolphin, voice of Iowa. John Walters, the voice of Iowa State. Next, Miller and Condon, Iowa Sports Radio Network.
Thank you very much to Gary Dolphin for his time earlier today as we break things down. Let's get into the prop market. What does Vegas think is going to happen in this game? Well, we know Iowa State is a favorite, but what about the player props? Over, under Mark Gronowski passing yards. I have that and a whole lot more when we continue on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love the FanDuel app. So many different ways that you can get involved. How about a same-game parlay to kick things off with the Cowboys and the Eagles on Thursday evening? Vikings, Bears, Monday Night Football, and, of course, the Cy-Hawk game. We'll talk a little bit more about some of those options that are available for you on the FanDuel app. It makes every game a little bit more exciting, whether you're just watching your team or keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your $5 bet. FanDuel.com. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. And if you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without having to touch a spreadsheet. As a small business owner, I know how difficult it is juggling all kinds of different things. You can identify with Monarch what you're saving, what you're not, and maybe find a different way to be efficient in the market. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege. monarchmoney.com. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. So here we are midway through the week. And as we get deeper and deeper into this one, you start to come up with different theories. I mentioned I believe the biggest key for this game is Iowa beating Iowa State is for the pass rush to get there. And most importantly, for the front four to be able to do it, to generate pressure without having to send a blitz. But there is other markets out there that will show you exactly what this is going to look like, including over at FanDuel. Now, odds are always subject to change. However, when you look at this one, Iowa has been an underdog throughout, going back to the summertime when this line came out. We sit here on Wednesday afternoon, and currently Iowa State is back down to a 2.5-point favorite at FanDuel. The Hawkeyes are getting 2.5. You can also play the money line and just place your bet. You can get Iowa plus 126. So a $10 wager would return your initial $10 investment plus $12.66 for a return of $22.60. So that's how the money line works. All Iowa has to do is win the game and you cash. But there are other things. Now, also need to put this out there. In the state of Iowa, individual player props are not available. You're not able to bet on individual player props. So depending on where you are, these might not be available on your FanDuel app. My friend in Illinois, though, sent this over and thought there were some good things here, including Mark Gronowski, over under passing yards. Think for a moment. What is this number? After 44 yards passing, some of the ineptitude we've seen in the passing game recently from Iowa, what could this number possibly be? Your answer? 136.5 yards. In 2025, that is a real number that is available for you to bet on. Now, maybe you believe that last week was an aberration, that Mark Gronowski is going to go out there and he's going to be chucking around. He's going to be making plays with his arm. And what we saw last week was just a mirage, and that the Mark Gronowski at South Dakota State is going to show up once again. I hope you're right. 136.5 is that one. Do you think Mark Gronowski throws a touchdown? Well, the over-under is a half. So if you bet the over, you think he's getting a touchdown or more, you're in good shape. The problem is that it's heavily juiced, minus 198. So basically minus 200 on that prop. On the other side of the quarterback spot, Rocco Becht. 236.5 is his yardage total in the game, over under 1.5 passing touchdowns for him. Over to the running back position, and this is where Iowa does not have anybody currently listed on the FanDuel app. Only Mark Gronowski is listed in rushing yards. It's 28.5 is his number. Here's the big thing to me, though. Remember, sacks are also a part of that, and that number might be difficult to entertain. We'll see on that front. Over to receiver. Seth Anderson, 24.5. Over under yards receiving in the game, 23.5 for Jacob Gill. Those are the two guys listed. And then finally, this is always a fun one, touchdown scores. Anytime touchdown score at any point in the game, Terrell Washington is the betting favorite at plus 140. Mark Gronowski, think he's going to rush one in, plus 230 for him. Jacob Gill at plus 340, also listed there. Jazzion Patterson, plus 370, had that big game of names a couple of years back. You want to go that direction? How about Sam Phillips at 5-1? Or you can keep digging a little bit deeper on Caden Weechin, had a receiving touchdown. We know he's always a big player in the return game. You can get him at plus 650. But maybe the most fun market is the first touchdown of the game. You're looking to get together with a group of friends, and this is something that can really increase that excitement level. Who gets into the end zone first? Now, this is for both teams. The betting favorite right now is Carson Hansen, the running back for Iowa State. He's plus 575. Second choice, though, is Terrell Washington Jr. at plus 850. How about Gronowski at plus 960? Kind of like that one there. A couple other Hawkeyes to score the first one of the game. Jazzion Patterson at 22-1. Jacob Gill 20-1. How about Addison Estrenga sneaking out of the back of the end zone? 22-1 on him. Not too shabby. And suddenly on that FanDuel app, you're feeling pretty good if that one comes to fruition. But some fun ones out there, again, not available in the state of Iowa. And personally, as a gambler, I don't have a big problem with that. It could lead to definitely issues in some of the things that we have. We have plenty to bet on, and we definitely will be doing that on the FanDuel app. But some props for our neighbors around in the different states that are available, including over in Illinois. Well, that'll do it for today. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. A thank you to everydayers with us each and every day, talking the world of Hawkeye athletics as we take a look at everything going on. We'll continue to break the game down. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we'll hear from the other radio voice of the Hawkeyes, former Hawkeye linebacker Pat Angerer is going to stop in. We will preview things. Plus, we also have a special crossover edition of Locked On Hawkeyes coming your way. We'll go the other way. Nick Maravitz from Locked On Cyclones. We'll go back and forth. We'll talk some smack. We're going to have some fun. That's coming up on tomorrow's Locked On Hawkeyes. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. A big thank you again to you everydayers with us every single day. Also want to let you know, we got a big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff. It's your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation, along with two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts, including this week, yours truly, Trent Condon. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Until tomorrow, we will talk to you then. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Until then, go Hawks.